Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I call the regular meeting of the Menifee City Council to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Your Honor, with pleasure. Councilmember August. Councilmember Furman. Aye. Councilmember Denver. Aye. Deputy Mayor Edgerton. Aye. Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
And this evening we have words of inspiration by Pastor Chris Suet of New Hope Community Church.
For those who would not want to pray, feel free to have a moment of silence. And those who would like to do neither, just think of great thoughts for our city that you want to help get involved in. I'd like to pray tonight a prayer that a very wise king once prayed for himself. His name was Solomon. And that becomes my prayer tonight for all of us, especially those in leadership. Let us pray. Lord Jesus, we just give thanks for this city council. And Lord, I pray that you give each member the ability to do justice and give them your righteousness to do what is right. May they oversee the people of Menifee with righteousness. In other words, the ability, Lord, to see the right thing to do and then the strength to do it. May they oversee all of the Menifee citizens, the poor, the well-off, all those in between, with justice and not with favoritism of any kind. Let their decisions bring prosperity for all of our residents. May they defend the cause of everyone, especially those who can't do it on their own or pay for it, those in our rural section and those that live in the housing tract. Lord, give them the eyes to see and ears to hear what needs to be done for all of our sections of our town, no matter where they may live within. Lord, we recognize that all authority comes from you and that these men are here for a reason, so that each resident may pursue the dreams and goals you have placed in their hearts without governmental interference. Lord, may we, the residents of Menifee, hold them up in our prayers and thoughts so that by the time the next election rolls around, all will be encouraged and praise them for the deeds that they have done. Lord, we thank you for the rain. We badly need it. May we continue to get more of it. Lord, but in doses so that we have no floods. May the ground just soak it up. So, Lord, we just give you all the praise and we thank you. And it is in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Chris. Tonight we have the color guard from City of Menifee Explorer Post number 315. Gentlemen, parade the colors.
Color guard. Reset. Go. Ladies and gentlemen, please remove all your hats and please join me in honoring the flag of our country. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard. Carry. Go. Forward. March. Left, right, left, right. Left, right, left.
Please be seated. Let the peaceful transition of power in another American city begin. Madam Clerk, we have next on the agenda, we have no presentations this evening.
Correct.
We have approval of the meeting minutes from November 19th of 2014. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Second.
Are there any objections? Minutes are approved. And next on the agenda is Agenda Item 7.1 for our reorganization, declaration and certification of the election results to adopt Resolution Number 14-411, reciting the facts of the general municipal election held on November 4th, 2014, declaring the results and other such matters as provided by law. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
May I have a second? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Councilmember August. Councilmember Furman. Councilmember Denver. Deputy Mayor Edgerton. And Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
On to Agenda Item 7.2, gentlemen, comments and presentations to outgoing council member. Are there any comments from the dais this evening? Hearing none, Councilmember, Mr. August.
No, this is outgoing council
It
members,
is, yes.
correct? I just wanted to say, Tom, it's been a pleasure for 2 years working with you. Thank you for your help, your tutelage, and getting me through my first 2 years. And I'm sorry, I hope the next person that's sitting in that seat, I can read their notes, because I couldn't read yours and was trying to learn and things like that. So anyway, I'm going to miss you, and I wish you luck. And I'm looking forward to attending the time when you're elected into the Menifee Senior Softball League Hall of Fame. So,
Thank you, Mr. August. Deputy Mayor Edgerton.
Tom, just want to thank you for your service. Everyone who's ever been in public office knows it's a tough job, and there's a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but you were consistent in your desire to help the rural area and home-based businesses, and everyone should appreciate and thank you for that. And again, thank you for your 4 years of good service.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Tom, would you join me up front, please? We have a couple of presentos to make tonight to you in recognition of your service as a council member for the city of Menifee. And I have some things that I'd like to share. I'll be brief, I think. As the mayor, the mantle of leadership falls upon me, and this is my duty. Tom, I thought long and hard about what I was going to share with you tonight, and I felt and have concluded that I'll just share from the heart as you conclude your term on the Menifee City Council tonight. And you know, I realized that what I had to share would be therapeutic for me, and I hope that in time that'll also be therapeutic for you as the days and weeks and years go by. You know, you can now join a long list of officials who have lost elections, and you can count me, Wally Edgerton, and John Denver in that same group. And we've all lost elections, and all four of us now know how it feels. And it's something that takes a little bit to get over. But I know that for a long time that I feel that for a long, long time that you and maybe some of your supporters have harbored a grudge, or felt that I have harbored a grudge against you, which couldn't be further from the truth at all. And it's just simply not the case. And those who know me best and those who are closest to me know that I, as a Christian man, I don't hold grudges towards anybody. In fact, you know, as a believer, I forgive. As a man, I forgive, and I may not forget, but I certainly forgive. And you know, 2 years ago, what I wanted to share from the heart was, you know, when I was running for mayor the first time, you know, I met with you on your ranch to seek your endorsement. And it's an endorsement that I sought. It's an endorsement that I valued. I really appreciate your support during that time. And I really appreciate you doing that for me. And I think you'll recall the meeting that we had when I sat down in your office. You handed me a list of 6 policy goals that you wanted to have some help with. You remember that day? I do too. And I think you'll also recall what I shared, which is, you know, Tom, I think I can support you on 4 of these 6 things, but there's 2 that you and I will never see eye to eye on. But you know what? You did your term on the council, at least, in the last 2 years, to be sure. You achieved those four of those 6 policy goals that you set out, even in your first 2 years that you wanted to do. So I think you can be justifiably proud of those accomplishments, and they might not be exactly what you had in mind or envisioned, but politics is truly a compromise, and I was happy to compromise with you on those and to help give you those policy victories, because you move those things forward, and you should be commended for those, and I'm proud to have helped and been a part of that with you. So let me conclude my brief remarks with an excerpt from a speech titled Citizen in a Republic, delivered at the Sorbonne in Paris, France on the 23rd of April 1910. Sorbonne is a building in the Latin Quarter of Paris, and it's where the former University of Paris used to be. I think Mr. Edgerton might have been around when the speech was delivered.
I've been there.
So, quote, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never ever be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat." End quote. And for those of you, many recognize that is from the one of the great presidents, Theodore Roosevelt. And Tom, I want to thank you for your service as a council member for this city, and thank you for being a man who stepped up to participate in the arena. On behalf of the entire city council, we wish you well in all your future endeavors. Congratulations on your service. Thank you for that well-deserved ovation, and I'd like to have a couple presentations to make for you before you have the floor. This is some acrylic documenting your service on the council. It is presented to Councilmember Tom Furman, 2010-2014, City of Menifee, December 3rd, 2014. We have a couple. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. I know this is from the staff. They wanted to make sure that you had a picture of the 5 of us on the wall. That's what this is. And more importantly, I think what you really wanted to have was this next one, which is your portrait from the council wall. And we're going to memorialize it tonight for you. Thanks once again, Tom. It's been a pleasure serving with you.
Thank you, Scott. The only thing I kind of don't like about government, it doesn't move fast enough. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I have to say on government. I just got a couple cue cards because I don't want to forget anything. Okay. It has been a wonderful 4 years experience. Okay, in the words of great Bob Hope, thanks for the memories. Thanks for all my supporters, and thanks for you supporters. There we go.
Told you couldn't read them.
Who keep coming and watching government in motion. Make sure you watch the campaign promises and make sure they are kept. A watch pot never boils over. As for my health, I lost 35 pounds. I guess that's a good thing. But my my spinal cord has been damaged, and I may need a spinal fusion operation next year. But I thank God every day that I'm just even alive after the accident I did have. But I haven't lost my sense of humor. That's the nice part about it. I got to tell you, do you all have a nice Thanksgiving? All right, well, I did too. I was down at my daughter's house, and after Thanksgiving, they were discussing what Christmas presents that anyone should have. And I said I kind of would like two things. I said I would want something that goes 0 to 200 in less than 10 seconds, and a get out of jail free card. So I guess on Christmas I'll be standing on a bathroom scale and playing Monopoly. Don't expect me to do stand-up down at Ace's Comedy Club. Over the past few weeks, I get these, sometimes when over to Country Club, are the ankle bracelet jokes, okay? And my favorite one is, how long can you tread water with an ankle bracelet on? And I get that one several times. But my number one joy of running for office was the election night party over at Greg August House, where I met a wonderful woman, and I'm still with her today. That makes me very happy. Now, this is unusual. I know some of the audience would want to say something, but we'll save that for the reception. We're going to have a little break in the festivities right here, and I'll be hugging and kissing all the girls on the right side and shaking the men's hand on the left side. So I think we're going to adjourn for a few minutes.
Sir, we are.
And thank you very much.
I reconvene the meeting of the Menifee City Council at time 7:30. And at this point of the agenda item 7.4, it is time to administer oaths of office to the incoming council members. And I'll hand this off to the city clerk. Madam Clerk, would you please?
Yes, Your Honor,
over.
thank you. Well, obviously, this is a very, very important and special time, so I'd first like to call up Mr. Matthew Leesmeyer. Mr. Leesmeyer, if you will raise your right hand, please. Mr. Leesmeyer,
I,
state your name,
Matthew Leesmeyer,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic, that I bear true faith and allegiance
that I bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States,
to the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the State of California,
and that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely
without mental reservation
without mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office I'm about to enter.
of the office that I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Welcome to the dais, Council Member Leesmeyer.
And Mr. John Denver. All right, sir. Please raise your right hand. I, John Denver,
I, John Denver,
do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
I'm sorry. To support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
I bear true faith and allegiance.
I bear true faith and allegiance
To the Constitution of the United States.
to the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely
Without mental reservation.
without mental reservation
Or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully
Discharge the duties.
discharge the duties
Of the office I'm about to enter.
of the office I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. Probably the most time to get your picture taken. And our mayor, Mr. Scott Mann.
I, Scott Allen Mann,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United
to
States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without mental reservation
without mental reservation
or purpose of
or
evasion,
purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office I'm about to enter.
of the office I'm about ready to enter. So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett, for that. It was an honor to have you swear me in this time. I really appreciate it, and I thank you for that. I will remember that.
The honor was mine.
Whatever your future holds for you.
Thank you.
So, with that being done, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll of the new council?
I would be honored. Councilmember August.
Here.
Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Here.
Councilmember Denver.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Edgerton.
Here.
And Mayor Mann.
Here.
Thank you.
At this point, agenda item 7.6, we'll extend the privilege of the floor to newly seated council members, beginning with Councilmember Leesmeyer. If you have anything you'd like to say, sir?
Just briefly, Mr. Mann, thank you. I appreciate the floor. God, what an honor to be here at this point, serving in a new capacity for the city. I wouldn't be here without my wife, Jen, and my daughter, Grace. Thank you both for all your support. I want to thank again my family, all my friends that showed up, everybody that showed up out on the street corners, walking houses, knocking door to door, doing all that stuff. It took a lot of effort, a lot of effort. So again, thank you. And most of all, thank you to the residents of Menifee who did vote for me. I won't let you down. With regards to my platform, you know, I've said it in a news article. There's a lot of things I still need to learn. There's a lot of perceptions out there about the way you think things are at the city. And, you know, I'm hoping to work with staff here in the upcoming weeks to shed some light on my perceptions of what I think I need to change. And we'll reconcile that after the new year, hopefully. And we'll hit the ground running. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Congratulations again, sir. Councilmember Denver.
I also consider this a real honor to be able to be elected here again for another 4 years. What a joy this is to a community that's given so much to me and my family, and it's nice to be able to give back a little bit. It would not be appropriate for me to be sitting here without thanking my wife for all the different work that she has done in this campaign. I would work 8 to 10 hours a day on this campaign, and she'd work 12 to 14. I could not possibly have won this election, never mind all the other things that I've done in my life, without her, and I want to thank her very much, as well as the people in the city of Menifee who helped me get this election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denver. Those of you know me the best know that I'm a faithful man, and first and foremost, I would like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Through him, all things are possible, and all the glory goes to him. As a child of God, I know who sits on the throne of my life, and it's not me, that's for sure. And being the mayor does not define who I am as a man. It's just one of the many things that I do. Secondly, I would like to thank the voters of Menifee for once again placing their trust in me as a public servant. Serving on behalf of this city has been a high honor and a very personally rewarding experience for me. I would like to commend my opponent, Paul Wiggins, on running a genuine grassroots campaign and showing a willingness to serve his fellow citizens and stepping into the arena. Our city council has a slightly new makeup, as you can see by tonight, and I look forward to continuing a healthy and productive relationship with all of my colleagues up here, as well as with city staff. You know, we were able to accomplish many things over the last 2 years, and I know that working together we can continue to build on those achievements. But you know, none of that would happen for us because without the help and benefit of a great staff whose shoulders we all stand on every single day. We just sit up here and affect policy. They run the day-to-day operations and share all those things with each and every one of you and make things go. I would like to thank my supporters, those who helped me throughout the campaign. I had a lot of people making phone calls and had some great help from my son Tyler and Alyssa, who helped us go door to door. Really appreciate your help, guys. Thank you so much. Looking ahead, Menifee has many challenges and opportunities, and we must maintain a sharp focus on the policy issues that matter most to this city. We need to continue to expand our tax base through business growth and job creation. We need to continue strengthening our infrastructure, which we've got a great start on. We need to work towards fully funding our public safety programs incrementally. And these are not all easy tasks, I realize, but I know that we can accomplish great things when we all work together, and I'm confident that we can make real progress in these coming 2 years. I would like to thank a couple other people in the audience. Pastor Chris, thank you again for being here, sir. And Ashley Burns, 2 members of my church family, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Again, my son Tyler, would you say hi, Tyler? And Alyssa, his friend. And I'd like to thank my mom for being here. Mom, wave. I would also like to recognize Riverside County Community College District Trustee Nathan Miller. Nathan, I'm sorry I should have introduced you earlier. And last but certainly not least, I would wish to thank my wife, Deborah, who has stayed with me through thick and thin for the last 31 years we've been together. I could not do what I've been called to do without your strong support and love, and I thank you very much, and I love you. So I have another colleague that would like to make a comment, and then we'll move on from there. Councilmember August.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to congratulate Mr. Denver, Mr. Mann, Mr. Liesemeyer on your victories, and I look forward to working with you for the next 2 years. But I do have a question. I have to make a comment. I thought Mr. Furman was a big man, but when Matt sat next to me, it was like having the sun go down. And I have to ask you a question. 4 years ago, when you were on the Blue Ribbon Committee, and I was out there in the audience, did you ever imagine being sitting next together on the city council?
Nope,
That is fantastic.
never. And I do have to share something with you. good luck reading my writing. I don't write it anywhere nearly as clearly as Tom does.
Great comment, Mr. August. Deputy Mayor Edgerton?
Well, I'd like to join Councilman August in congratulating our new mayor and of course John Denver, and welcome our new guy, Matt, to the council. I'm looking forward to a very good working city council. Our council previously has been a bit split. Some of us have put a lot of emphasis on procedural things, others on substantive things. Elections have consequences, and the people have spoken. And we have a new council, and we have a mayor, and the people have selected them. And I am genuinely looking forward to working with our mayor and to working with our council and being a contributor as one member of this new council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Edgerton. So with all of those comments being said, the election dust has settled once again, and it's now time to roll up our sleeves and get back to work. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to declare that Menifee is open for business. Madam Clerk, what is next on the agenda?
Sir, that would be your selection of the Mayor Pro Tem.
Very good. Councilmember Leesmeyer, may I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, yes, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Councilman John Denver as our Mayor Pro Tem.
Very well. I will second that motion. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
I will. Councilmember August.
Yes.
Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Yes.
Councilmember Denver. Councilmember Edgerton.
Aye.
And Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mayor Pro Tem Denver. On to our next agenda item. Madam Clerk, agenda item 7.8, would you please read my appointments to regional boards and commissions for ratification by the council?
Yes, sir, I will. You have, as per an email sent to everyone, you have determined that you would like to see appointed as follows. Riverside County Transportation Commission, the member would be Scott Mann, the alternate would be Mr. Wallace Edgerton. The Western Riverside Council of Governments, known as ARCOG, and the TUMP Program Zone Committee, the representative would be Mr. Denver, the alternate would be Mr. Mann. The Western Riverside Regional Conservation Authority, known as WRCRCA, Representative Matt Leesmeyer, alternate John Denver. Riverside Transit Agency, known as RTA, Representative Wallace Edgerton, alternate Greg August. Riverside County Habitat Conservation Agency, RCHCA, Representative Matt Leesmeyer, alternate Greg August. Parsac is our insurer, as you know, our JPA for insurance, and you had asked to continue to have the city treasurer or director of finance be our representative, with yourself being the alternate if needed.
You better never miss.
And then, do you want me to go into the standing committees as well, sir?
Please.
The standing committee appointments, there are two in this city. Finance committee is Scott Mann, Wallace Edgerton. The name I named first would be chair, second would be the member. Public Safety Committee, John Denver, Greg August, that committee. And then, sir, I understand you'll be appointing an ad hoc committee tonight for economic development.
I am. And so I think it would be appropriate to take a motion on ratification of those appointments first, and then I'll do the ad hoc committee.
That would be appropriate.
Gentlemen, thank you for your support of these appointments. It was my goal to achieve continuity in these regional boards and commissions. So with that, I'd entertain a motion to ratify.
So moved.
May I have a second? Second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember August.
Aye.
Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Denver. Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Denver. Councilmember Edgerton. And Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And as the city clerk mentioned, I hereby appoint this evening an ad hoc committee for economic development consisting of myself and council member Leesmeyer, as requested by the city manager and staff. So at this point, we're on to, that wraps up that reorganization business. So we have, Madam Clerk, do we have any agenda modifications tonight?
We do. As things happen, the applicant has asked that we pull item 11.7. They're not quite ready for this item, so we should be bringing it back to you. So item 11.7 regarding the improvement in bonds and tentative track map final will be removed from tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Are there any other modifications?
No, sir, that's it.
The agenda is approved. On to public comments. Would you call the first public commenter?
I will. Jack Corlett.
Council
Good evening.
and public. 40-year-old Menifee Sun City Concern and staff had the pleasure of supplying 116 complete hot dinners to the homebound, at-risk seniors and veterans on Thanksgiving Day. To accomplish this task, there were 46 volunteers that donated their time to deliver these meals to the seniors. Some of the notables were Melissa Melendez, the State Assembly, and her family, the local VFW chapter 1956, members of the Cub and Boy Scouts, plus local residents, and these volunteers presented a ray of sunshine to the homebound. The hot dinners were prepared and cooked and dispensed by Boston Billy's restaurant of Sun City. The dinners included fresh turkey and gravy, dressing, yams, potatoes, vegetables, cranberries, and pie. The concern will repeat this gesture on Christmas Eve for the lonely and the forgotten. Anyone wishing to spread Christmas cheer to these lonely people, please contact the concern to volunteer your time and effort. Your reward will be on the faces of the recipients. Any donations of food or money will be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corlett and Sun City Concern. Well done. Next speaker, please.
Katie Manier.
Good evening. Well, Mayor, it's pretty hard to think you can't buy a lot of votes with $68,000. Anyway, I'm here tonight to tell you that your behavior at the last meeting was abhorrent. You have over and over tried to discredit me, call me a liar, and threatened me and others with no consequences. I don't think that's what a godly man does. Your last attempt to silence me by calling for the bailiff was incredible. You are just one member of the council and nothing more. This is a general law city, and all 5 council members have the same role. You just happen to sit in that seat. There was a very nice young man last meeting that spoke regarding a problem on his street, and over and over and over, you were rude to him, rude beyond belief. You pointed out he wasn't an engineer. Well, I'll point out to you, you aren't an engineer either. You're on the council to represent the people, and it is apparent that all you are doing is serving yourself. You asked that young man if he were an engineer, and he wasn't, and you aren't. People drive Menifee Road like it's the Audubon with no concern for the speed limit. Instead of stating that you would look into the issue, you just kept arguing with him, and that is not your job. From that seat, you are not to argue with the public. If you have comments to make, you just need to keep them to yourself sometimes. Next on my list is concerns. It's the power that you've given to one citizen by having this person work on ordinance for the city when there were so many more qualified people to do that work. Now this same person is going to small businesses claiming that they represent them and will make ordinances to help them. This could be a real liability for the city, and this practice must stop. It's pretty obvious that you would like to run out all the small businesses so there's room for more big businesses that provides taxes to this unplanned and overgrown city with no real clear vision. You have created this with all your backdoor deals, and you keep making them. This council is made up of 5 people, each representing a district, and that is what should be done. Now, Mr. Leesmeyer, we all know about the dirty campaign. There was a lot of dirty campaigning going on. Everybody knows that. I want to put a challenge out there to you to step up to the plate, represent the people you were elected to serve, and do what has to be done and not take orders from the bully that is at the helm of this council. You should start by questioning why the council is fed at the expense of the taxpayers at every meeting. These meetings are late enough that they should be taking care of their own needs and not at the taxpayers' expense. And that's been brought up over and over at these meetings. Let this be a new beginning for the council with transparency and honesty. It's pretty hard to make honest people out of dishonest people, and it's hard to make honest people out of liars.
Next speaker, please.
Janet Anderson.
Mayor, Councilman, my name is Janet Anderson, and I'm from the community of Quail Valley in the city of Menifee. And I want to congratulate Scott and John on their reelection. And on behalf of the Quail Valley Community Group, the Quail Valley Environmental Coalition, we want to extend a warm welcome to Matt Liesmeyer in District 2. We look forward to working with you in the upcoming years. I know we have a lot to work on. And I would also like to take a moment to thank the Public Works Department for the new culvert that they put in on Getz Road between Vista Way and Casa Bonita. In the rain, when I was driving home last night, I slowed way down knowing that there was going to be a lot of water on the road. And when I got to that intersection, there was no water. Job well done. Very grateful to Jonathan Smith, Rafael Martinez, and your team. It was a great job. I was very thankful for that. The last item is I wanted to give out a big thank you to Greg August, Scott Mann, and Matt Liesmeyer. With your help, the Quail Valley Bible Church was able to provide turkey dinners to 11 families that with all of the fixings and to their families. And I want to thank you very much. That was very thoughtful for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Sir, those are all the speakers until your public hearing.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much. On to council member reports on committee activities. I have a report. Does anybody have a committee report from a board or committee of RTA or anything like that? I have a report. I sat in for as the alternate to the Western Riverside Council of Governments for for Mayor Pro Tem Denver. We had a opportunity similar to the HERO program, which I know many of you are probably aware of now, highly successful program where you can have energy efficient upgrades to your home financed through tax increment and you pay it back over time. Similarly, the Western Riverside Council of Governments, by unanimous vote of all the cities, approved a program to provide a mechanism for streetlight acquisition and converting from the current types of streetlights to LEDs. And so what's really exciting about it is the city of Marietta was used as an example in terms of the financial example, and the city of Marietta has over 6,000 streetlights. And if under this program, if all 6,000 of those streetlights are upgraded with LEDs and the city takes them over themselves from Southern California Edison, they'll save over $456,000 per year, which that's a heck of a savings when you consider for us, $450,000 a year, that'd buy us 2 more sheriff deputies in our public safety contract. So you'll be, I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem Denver down in the coming months will be updating on that. And I've asked Mr. Johnson if he would invite the WRCOG staff to come and make a presentation to all of us about the program so that we're all aware of it. And then, of course, this morning I had the opportunity to attend the Student of the Month luncheon in Paris, honoring students from Heritage High School and Paloma Valley High School. And that concludes my report under AB 1234 for this council meeting. On to the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody who wishes to speak on the consent calendar?
No, sir.
With the reminder that 11.7 has been removed by applicant's request. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. August. May I have a second? A second on the consent calendar?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Liesmeyer,
Aye.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Denver. Councilmember Edgerton. Councilmember August. Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
And we have a public hearing this evening on the agenda, a public hearing for land dedication / park improvement fees ordinance. And Mr. Johnson, do we have a staff report tonight?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Robert Lennox will lead that for the balance of the item.
Thank you, City Manager Johnson. Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'll try to simplify the information regarding these two ordinances with the help of our interim Community Development Director, Charles LeCure. And with that, give you a brief overview of what these both of these ordinances encompass. Just briefly, the Quimby Act is relative to the land dedication that was read in the title. The Government Code Section 66477 it provides that a city may, by an ordinance, require the dedication of land or impose a requirement of the payment of fees in lieu thereof, or a combination of both for park and recreation purposes as a condition of the development. And so for the most part, we're talking about new housing, residential developments in town. Additionally, mitigation fee, which is part of Government Code Section 66000-66008, also known as the Mitigation Fee Act. It allows and provides that the city may, by ordinance, require the improvement or construction of public facilities or impose a requirement for the payment of fees in lieu of those, or a combination of both for park and rec purposes as a condition of that development. So it's important to understand the difference between the two. Quimby is relative to land dedication. Mitigation is relative to public facility improvement construction. The current ordinances that the city abides by right now are a little antiquated, and I'll explain that. Upon incorporation, the city adopted Riverside County's land use ordinance number 460.152, and essentially it did the same thing as what I mentioned earlier for Quimby. However, as I mentioned, it is antiquated. That land dedication is currently at 3 acres per 1,000 persons, or an in lieu fee of approximately $2,160, and ranging all the way up to $3,480 per dwelling unit. And of course, that's contingent upon the density of those units. And in addition, the park diff, which would relate to what we consider to be mitigation, is at a set fee of $536. So right now, the city is collecting relatively low fees for new developments that come into town. So you're probably wondering, well, what specifically do the new ordinances do? How are they changing? How would they change how we do business? In essence, the Quimby would increase the land dedication requirement from the 3 to 5 acres per 1,000, and that is already included in the adopted general plan. So this ordinance would simply tie up a loose end by making it part of the municipal code. And then secondly, it increases the in lieu payment fee per dwelling unit that's proportional to the fair market value of the land acquisition cost per acre. So there's a formula which I will show you in a few slides to give you an idea of how that could be calculated on a project-by-project basis. Then in the mitigation, it actually increases the total fee of per dwelling unit proportional to land acquisition cost per acre as well. However, that land acquisition cost per acre is essentially used as a value, even though the fees that could be collected would be applied to park improvement only, so not acquisition. And again, when I show you those formulas, it'll make a little more sense. It's simply used as a mechanism for calculating the fee, not essentially tying it to the cost of the actual improvement of a park. The last thing is obviously it's no longer a flat fee, so it is contingent upon the dwelling units size, number, and so on as a variable in a formula. A couple other just sort of miscellaneous notes about the ordinances. There is some recent litigation where public agencies and developers they've suggested that the ordinances are more defendable if the Quimby and mitigation fee requirements are kept as two separate ordinances. Because you're probably wondering, well, if they have the same formulas, Why wouldn't they be incorporated together? It's actually a lot more defendable to keep them separate within a municipal code. And they actually can apply to different types of projects too. Quimby may also apply to new subdivisions only, while mitigation may apply to subdivisions and other developments as well. So that would include apartments. So in essence, this is the ordinance by title. I won't read it in its entirety, but I will state that the details I already mentioned, which is that it essentially repeals the section 10.35, which was what the city adopted at time of incorporation of the county's land use ordinance, and then adds chapter 9.55 to the Menifee Municipal Code. In addition, for the mitigation ordinance, we're essentially requesting the addition of adding chapter 9.56 to the code, again, incorporating the details of mitigation act fee requirements upon developments in town. And so this slide here shows you a brief snapshot of what those formulas would look like. Formula A is what would be used for dedication of land. As you can see, it's the number of dwelling units of the proposed map that is brought to the city by the developer, times the average number of persons per dwelling unit, and then times 0.005, which represents number of acres per thousand, so 5 acres per thousand residents, and that would give the number of acres to be dedicated. Continuing down, though, Formula B is the Quimby fee calculation. The same variables in place here. The only thing that's changed is we're including the cost of land acquisition within the formula per acre to give you the total Quimby fee. And then Formula C is for mitigation, and it is an identical formula. And essentially, these are both assessed, contingent upon what kind of project is being proposed, what kind of map is being presented, and what kind of dwelling units are incorporated. So I can certainly answer questions about the formula now or at the end, but please stop me if you need clarification along the way. So some of the prerequisites for park dedication and improvement for these ordinances to be, I guess you could say, usable by a city. The Quimby Act doesn't allow for a city to enforce parkland dedication or in lieu fee requirements unless, and I will read this portion, the legislative body has adopted a general plan, which this city has, or a specific plan containing policies and standards for park and recreation facilities, and the park and recreation facilities are in accordance with definite principles and standards. Essentially, it calls out referring developers to a park master plan and park development standards. And this is important because if a developer comes into town and would like to build, and they're then conditioned to put in a park or dedicate land for park use, park and recreation use, they're going to be asking, all right, what kind of park do you want? Where would you like it? How big do you like it to be? If they've already met the minimum acreage size. And the best way to point them in the right direction is to refer them to an existing park master plan. With that, staff will be returning to council at a future meeting to reintroduce a park master plan study proposal for consideration. So just a review of what has happened so far relative to these two proposed ordinances. The Park, Recreation, and Trails Commission did hold a public hearing on the 23rd of October and recommended that council hold a public hearing and then also approve and adopt the two ordinances. And in addition to that, made a recommendation to reintroduce the Park Master Plan study proposal. And then I'll go ahead and defer over to Charles on what the Planning Commission did.
At the Planning Commission's regular meeting of November 12th, not 13th, that's a typo, the Commission considered both of the new chapters of the Development Code. They found that the request was consistent with the goals and policies of the general plan. As a side note, we have chapters 9.55 and 9.56 because that's where they fall in your new development code that we're working on. This just happens to be a little bit ahead of the rest of the code. The Planning Commission also looked at the environmental documentation that was presented to them and found that they could recommend to you that these code amendments be considered exempt from further environmental review, recommending that staff, that you approve staff to sign and forward the exemption, and that the commission at that meeting unanimously voted to recommend that you adopt the 2 chapters.
A quick question for the city attorney. It just brought to mind the commission report from Mr. Leclerc. Is Councilmember Leesemeyer precluded from voting on this agenda item since he's already cast a vote as a planning commissioner on November 12th?
Quicker answer, no.
Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
So before I summarize the recommended actions, I'll also mention that upon adoption of these 2 ordinances after the second reading, if that's the will of the council, staff would then return at another public hearing following that to recommend the adoption of a resolution for the schedule of fees relative to both Quimby and mitigation fee acts. So those are forthcoming pending the approval of these 2 ordinances and adoption of these 2 ordinances. With that, excuse me, 4 recommended actions. First would be to conduct the public hearing this evening. The second would be to find that the code amendments are exempt from further environmental review, and then and ask staff to file the final draft notice of exemption. And then the third would be introduce the first ordinance, which is essentially the Quimby, and then fourth, the second ordinance, which is relative to Mitigation Fee Act. With that, I conclude the report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lennox. Mr. August?
Just a quick question regarding the mention of the master plan and the Parks Recreation. If we adopt the ordinance after the second reading, what effect, what does the master plan and the Parks Development Standards, how does that play into it?
Yeah, it's a good question. It means that we have to play catch up. And that any developments that come in and developers who ask questions about where parks should go and how they should look, we have to use our best judgment until the study's complete. It leaves us a little exposed, but it's better to start sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we're exposed for much longer.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council to staff? I have how does this, we move these forward as recommended by the 2 commissions and staff. How does this affect projects that have already been approved by the county? Would they be subject to this new change since their projects were already approved?
No, if their projects were already approved, then they essentially move forward on the old terms, so to speak. And that would suggest they had an approved track map. But if they haven't had that yet, then they would be have to comply with this once it's adopted.
Okay. What if they come forward with what if someone comes forward with a general plan amendment or specific plan amendment? Would then this ordinance apply? Mr. Leclerc?
Yeah.
Yes, it would apply.
Okay. And then a clarification, if I may. Could you go back to the fee formula? I want to make sure that I heard you correctly. On the land acquisition cost per acre calculation, is that current market value for today, or is that based upon the land acquisition cost per acre when the landowner bought the land?
It's per today, and it's based off of the quadrant within wherein that development is being proposed.
So if someone asks for a in lieu fee or land dedication, how's that fair? If I bought the property 20 years ago, why would I pay a fee based upon current market value when I've held the land for 20 years? I don't understand how that. Help me understand how that's fair.
Yeah. It'd be based. My assumption would be based off of the comparable values of any neighboring land. I'm sure Charles can.
It's a matter of you're developing now, so all the fees are what are in place now. So regardless of what it costs you to buy the land originally, which may have been 20 years before, you are developing now, you're subject to all the fees and the requirements now. It will cost the city that much, whatever that land value is, to provide the park, and so that's why it's required of them to provide that much.
Okay, I understand that part then. Okay, any other questions? I'll open up the public hearing at time 8:12. Madam Clerk, was this properly noticed?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have we received any correspondence since it's been legally noticed?
No, Your Honor.
And I understand we have at least one speaker on this public hearing.
That is correct.
Please call the speaker.
Rick Croy.
Evening, Council. Sorry for my limp. I'd like to say that I fell off a horse in Las Vegas at the NFR, but no, I tripped over my lawnmower. Anyway, I just wanted to make a couple of bullet points. I support the new ordinance. We've got a lot of catching up to do. In the discussions at the council or at the Parks and Trails, one of the things that in the most current municipal services review is that the actual aggregate total of park space in Menifee is 1.68 acres per thousand. We got a long way to go to get to 5. This is a great way to do it. This ordinance is long overdue. The need for a master plan is the best way to get there so that you can give developers a sense of certainty what's required. I think the onus is on the city to make sure that as projects move forward, they know what they're going to have to create. From a personal level, my grandson plays Wildcat football. The teams are stacked up like cordwood. Sometimes they have to go to Murrieta and surrounding cities to practice. We got a long way to go. The quicker we can get this stuff under our belt would be great, and I'm fully support this. Thank you.
Commissioner Croy, before you step away.
Yes.
Did you and the rest of your fellow commissioners, did you take your field trip
Thank
to
you for
the,
mentioning that.
to the Moreno
we
Valley
have,
facilities
yes,
that I showed Commissioner Rosen?
Yes, we did it was a fantastic opportunity. This kind of gets wonky, but when you actually go to communities where this has been in place and you see it working, well, let's do this now. We went to some great areas, all kinds of socioeconomic areas, but they had a plan. They created excellent parks with what was available, and we saw some not so good stuff that was created without these standards. And when you see this happen in real life, not just on paper, it's a pleasure to see.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys got out there to see that brand spanking new facility, that soccer/football field facility with
Fantastic.
three full fields and stadium and lighting and everything, and then the trailhead, the horse staging area at the trailhead on the other side of the street. I mean, that city's got several of those, and I was just really amazed when I started digging into it, how their planning for these things really flowed.
Yeah, the good thing is that there's examples out there that we can look to, and we just need to do it, that's all.
Mr. August.
Rick, before you go, really don't have a question for you. I just want to congratulate you and the commission, Mr. Rosen's here, you and the other commissioners for the work you do. Your experience and expertise in these areas make my job a lot easier, because pretty much if I know you guys are on the job and doing the work for it, I pretty much, you've heard the old rubber stamp. So anyway, but I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Madam Clerk, do we have any other speakers on this item?
No, sir.
Then I will close the hearing at time 8:16. We're inside the rail. Council, is there any further discussion on this matter since we've heard? Mr. Leesmeyer.
Yeah, just for the record's sake, maybe Rob or Robert, rather, could elaborate on why fees are not applied to commercial properties or industrial, only to residential.
The point and the purpose behind the requirement for land dedication and fees is to provide for park area for the residents of a community. They don't consider, in general law, they don't consider someone that comes and is an employee or is a customer at a commercial or an industrial facility to be a resident that needs a recreational facility.
Mr. Johnson?
Just outside the box thinking, it doesn't mean that through a development agreement we couldn't entice a commercial entity or somebody who's building a structure or a facility to join us in supporting our ability to create more parks and create a higher standard and quality of living.
That's ultimately what I'm getting at, because one of the things that a lot of people did say to me when I was out walking was, I'm tired of all this development. It's taking away from our open space. And development isn't just residential, it's commercial and industrial and everything else under the sun. So perhaps we could look into it in the future, how we could get something in regards to park space out of commercial and or industrial, or at least talk about it.
Yeah, I think we should have a discussion about that and have staff bring it back for how we want to employ those types of things, those mechanisms. Mr. Johnson?
Might I recommend that's a good discussion for the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee?
Oh, yep, okay, very good. Thank you, we just got tasked.
Sorry.
No, that's good. All right, hearing no further discussion.
I do have.
Oh, wait,
I
Mr.
do
Leesmeyer?
have more, yes.
Please, you have the floor.
Under item K, forgive me, it's page 7 of the staff report. The revenue impact fees will be used to expand the availability of public recreational facilities, yada, 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 and parkways. My question there is, typically parkways come in the form of right-of-way dedications and improvements done by development in that capacity. I would like to see if we can talk about why money would not just be earmarked for parks, not parkways, because that's part of a street improvement project.
That is true. When park dedication is, written into the conditions, the acreage requirement does not include the parkway portion. It's only the usable recreation, sometimes passive, sometimes active, but that usable open space, not the parkways. So the mitigation fees that are collected, though, can be used to improve those. As the city manager mentioned, though, those parkways also add to the general quality of life and help boost property values. So they're equally as important as the parks themselves. They're just not part of the overall parkland dedication that developers have to adhere to with this ordinance.
And in addition to that, there is a little semantic issue here. Parkways can also be linear parks that go from place to place that a lot of communities have, that are recreational trails, that are running paths and things of that sort. So parkways are sometimes, and in general plans and in the development code we have, also include those lineal parks.
Thank you. Okay, that makes sense. All right, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leesmeyer. Any other questions? Madam Clerk, we have 2 introductions, so I'm assuming that we can't take all 3 of these things in one motion. We have to take separate motions.
You assume correctly. We need 3 separate roll call motions.
Very well.
Sorry.
And on the matter of finding, okay, on the staff report, there's 3 things. On the agenda, there's 2. So help me out
Would
here.
I'll read
Would you
them
read the
in
first
order.
motion? Yeah, read
You
them in
bet.
order, and then we'll call for
Motion 1 would be, if we have a motion, please, to find that the municipal code amendments are exempt from further environmental review and authorize staff to file for notice of exemptions for both ordinances.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. August and seconded by Mr. Leesmeyer. Roll call vote.
Yes, sir. I'm going to get this right tonight before I leave. Mayor Pro Tem Denver. Councilmember Edgerton.
Aye.
Councilmember August.
Aye.
Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
And may I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 2014-160?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Edgerton.
Aye.
Councilmember August.
Aye.
Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Denver. Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
And may I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 2014-161?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. August, seconded by Mr. Edgerton. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember August.
Aye.
Councilmember Leesmeyer.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Denver. Councilmember Edgerton.
Aye.
Mayor Mann.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Good work on this presentation, getting us there. Thanks to the work for the Parks and Recs and Trails Commission. Thank you, gents. And the Planning Commission as well. We have no discussion items tonight. On to City Attorney report.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
You gave your 1 no tonight on the other agenda, so you're done.
Soul of wit.
And Mr. Johnson, City Manager reports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just a couple items to update. Last Last council meeting, I mentioned I was appointed to League of California Cities Policy Committee of Transportation, Communication, and Public Works, and most recently I found out through the WRCOG TAC on November 20th I was nominated and appointed by WRCOG to the Emergency Medical Care Committee. It's going to report to the County Board of Supervisors on all aspects of emergency care and programs within the county, so we can start focusing on our AMR, American Medical Response issues, and our police and fire, our safety cost issues, and other policy issues. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're looking at January 12th from 6 to 8 for a special council workshop regarding the Rural Business License Program that we've been working on for the past 6 months. So staff's pretty excited about that. We're hoping to finalize the calendar for that, and I'll be prepared to share some more information as we move forward. And there was a public comment last time about Garbani and Antelope property and some wheat tilling and dry wheat farming and it being done in the middle of the night. We've looked at that issue, and it's actually was a weed abatement issue. Some weeds were being tilled into the soil, and it was after hours, so there was a tractor out there at night, and the concern from the resident was that there was some wheat farming going on and some inappropriate things put on the soil. We found that not to be the case, and it is a simple case of weed abatement. They were notified of weed abatement, and they did it, and it took them till after the sun went down a little bit, and so we got to the bottom of that one. So that concludes my report.
Excellent. And don't we have an event coming up this Friday?
Absolutely. We have an event coming up this Friday. A wonderful event from our Community Services Department that, unfortunately, because of the amount of snow that we were going to bring in, is a little bit rain or shine. So it may be a little slushy, but we're looking forward to the event. Hopefully it will dry up a little bit. Robert and I have been, we can't call it rain dancing, we're dry dancing, or we're sun weather dancing. So that would be the Christmas tree lighting ceremony at the Menifee Town Center, and there's going to be much activity, hopefully. I think there's a flyer, look at that, a flyer's coming up on the screen there, so you're all invited. Santa Claus will be there. We've got some caroling going on. We've got some active activities for the kids with snow play, some crafts. What else we got, Robert?
Yeah, vendors, it's all there. Ornament making for kids, live entertainment, a myriad of community groups performing on stage, so it should be a lot of fun. I would like to highlight one minor change in that the holiday house decor contest deadline has been extended. So it was intended to be December 4th in a couple days, but it is tomorrow. It is actually December 15th is the deadline, and we will announce those winners at a future council meeting. So there's more time for folks to transition from Thanksgiving to Christmas season and decorate their houses and still participate. So thank you.
Well, one thing's for certain, there will not be any council karaoke on Friday, like there was on Monday night. So I'm assuming that this event's going to go rain or shine?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you very much. On to future agenda requests from council members. Mr. Denver.
I'd just like to remind the council that the fence that's along Highway 74 in the Romeland area is getting worse and worse. There's another hole in the fence, and it has not been repaired. It is Riverside County's effort that put it up, but it is a major problem. And I am saying to everybody that we will have somebody hurt on that street if we don't get that fence fixed. I would like to see if there is no way we can get that done sooner rather than later.
Mr. Johnson, I know it's on our it's scheduled for a future agenda. Can you provide a sense of timing on when that staff might be bringing that back for discussion?
Yes, actually, we had originally planned on bringing the information tonight, but because of the transition ceremony, we want to make sure that we got everybody the information and had enough time to consider it, so we'll be bringing that back on the 17th.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember August.
Just real cute, Mr. Denver, for some reason that fence keeps coming up in a lot of the conversations I have around the city, and it kind of reminds me of the border in a way, that the more you put the fence up, the more continue they're going to put a hole through the fence so they can get where they're going. And someone came up with an idea, so why don't you just put a gate there? And maybe they'll walk through the gate and not keep cutting holes in the fence and destroying the property, so.
Well, I know one thing I can share is that I sit on the RCTC projects subcommittee. And when we were discussing the straightening out of Ethernet 74 along the Ethernet corridor, we talked about a footbridge improvement over that particular area. So it's on the project plan to discuss. So, I mean, it may not happen as quickly as we all want it to, but it's in the plans. Okay, any other council members have any future agenda requests? I have two. Madam Clerk, if you could distribute the decorum policy once again to the council by email for potential changes and bring that back for discussion on December 17th. I'd appreciate it. There's some things that we want to modify, I'm sure. And then also, Mr. Johnson, I would, for the benefit of we talked briefly about having a, I don't want to call it a strategic visioning session. I'd rather call it a legacy building workshop. You know, we've gone through our incorporation phase. We're 6 years old. We started our 7th year. This is the 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th council that's been seated since we incorporated. And I think what this council should do is really focus on the future. We've got our general plan in place. We've got our capital improvement program in place. We've got all these things that we started. Let's build upon those is what I'm suggesting that we do, and think really, really long range. You know, like as an example, just one quick example is let's get together at a workshop and let's add all the infrastructure projects to the capital improvement program that we want for whether it takes 10, 15, or 20 years, who cares? Let's put it on the CIP, just label it unfunded, you know, or something like that, just so that's one example. And then another idea is I know, Mr. Johnson, you have a long-range staffing plan. So those are just a couple of ideas that I think we should all get together, bring some ideas to the table. Let's get them down on paper and a project plan and a roadmap for all of us to work off of, would be my request. If I can get a second on both of those, I would really appreciate that. And I would call for that meeting no earlier than February, because I know staff's busy. There's a lot of things to do in January. And if it slips till March, that's fine. But I think that's something that we need to get in place quickly, fairly soon.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. August. Any other items? Okay. Mr. August.
For comments?
Yeah.
Okay. Two comments tonight. First of all, for those of us who, like myself tonight, who traveled into the city, the center of the city on Bradley Road, you'll probably notice the water wasn't near as a problem as it was, and that's because Public Works was out prior to the rain cleaning out the culverts. And for those of you people, the city keeps promising you a bridge across the Salt Creek with Bradley, along Bradley Road. And we're looking at that in 2016. But really, congratulations to you for getting ahead of it, Mr. Smith, and cleaning out those culverts so the water wasn't a real problem so far. Second one, this is kind of a little wonderful event. Rob's having a big, wonderful event. So Monday at Case Center Center at 3:30, myself and some members from the staff, Rob Johnson will be there, Menifee Police Department will be there, Postmaster will be there. We're going to have a kind of a town work hall and a town hall to discuss some of the increasing mail and ID theft in the city. It's becoming a little bit of a problem. So we decided to put some people in the seats, bring the people in, let them address, put them together with law enforcement, postmaster, see what we can do about it. It's pretty much of a national problem, and it's on the consent. So if you get there prior to 3:30, we'll have some cookies and maybe a couple, so we can maybe wish each other a Merry Christmas, enjoy some treats, and sit down in the audience, and we'll try to give you as much time with the proper jurisdictions to kind of maybe see if we can cut down on mailbox vandalism and which leads eventually to mail theft and ID theft. So please come. More people we put in the seats, the more attention we will bring to the problem. So hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. August. Are there any other council member comments for tonight? Thank you, gentlemen, for a fantastic meeting, and staff. We are adjourned.